Marshmallow Man. This is a story that I still can't believe happened. It really shook me up as a kid and basically stole my childhood innocence. This is a real story that actually happened, and I'll just try to tell it the best I can remember. I'm posting this here, now, as it is fresh in my memory, because of something that happened recently. Something I'll get into a bit later in my story. So, here it goes. So there was this character that used to come to the park we played at. As children, we all just thought of him as a puffy, fluffy, white friendly blob at first. Every day, me and my friends would go to this park after school. There was a group of around 10 of us, a close-knit group, just doing the usual things kids do. It was one day, just as the sun began to set, that we saw him, skipping along the path, coming right towards us. We couldn't believe our eyes, but when you're a kid, you don't tend to overthink events like this too much. The world is pretty new, and your frames of reference towards the normality of the world aren't too wide-reaching. He had a big, wide smile with small, beady black eyes. He had a little blue hat and thunderous thighs. He had this white and blue striped scarf around what seemed to be a necklace frame, a large belly that seemed to wobble around with every step. He was earless, with large, chubby, round cheeks, a slight hint of red giving his cheery face a blush. We watched this big, funny character hop towards us, taking turns with each arm to wave at us as he did. We all just glanced at each other before bursting out into hysterics. We were all around 10 years old, and we were well aware this was just some funny man in a costume. It wasn't really anything that would be out of place at an amusement park or something like that. He approached us, letting his gestures speak for him, never actually speaking a word. I remember he would give us sweets and perform these strange magic tricks. He had this high-pitched laugh that made us all laugh at its absurdity. It was really squeaky, like a cartoon mouse or something. There was this one trick he would do which still baffles me to this day. He would eat his big, white, puffy hand, stuffing it into the crack of his grin. We would hear these sloppy chewing sounds. They all seemed over the top, just like everything else about him. He would slurp and burp, making us roar with laughter at his variety of sound effects. He would then hold onto his belly and let out belching sounds. These were slightly deeper sounds, which I do remember feeling slightly unnerved by the first time hearing it. I guess it was the shock of this friendly character actually sounding like a full-grown man for once. Once his hand had fully disappeared, he would spit it out into hundreds of edible marshmallows. We would laugh as we scrambled around picking them up and putting as much as we could fit into our mouths. Something I never really thought about then, but what has me thinking about it now is we literally watched him eat his hand from his suit. Several times, in fact. You would see the teeth marks, and we would watch him the whole time. Maybe his suit was actually made of marshmallow. This became a sort of regular occurrence for a few weeks. We actually got to the point where we were just hanging around waiting, hoping for an appearance from the Marshmallow Man. He was sort of becoming the highlight of our nights. We just loved the absurdity of it all, and the free sweets were a bonus too. One day, though, he came with this bag. It was a big plastic bag, some sort of novelty giant marshmallow bag. He giggled as he pointed at a friend of mine, Rich, and gestured him into the bag. We all laughed and egged him on to do it. How could we have known any better? We were kids, and this was just some harmless, friendly giant marshmallow. Rich hopped into the bag, and the Marshmallow Man pulled it up above him from the ground and zipped it up. We laughed for a couple of minutes until we could see Rich begin to panic. He started slapping at the bag from the inside. We began panicking ourselves as we pleaded with him to let Rich out. We watched as Rich began turning blue in the face. We watched as the Marshmallow Man giggled, his high-pitched giggle seeming far more sinister to us than before. Rich seemed to really be in danger. Me and my friends started trying to rip the bag open, but the Marshmallow Man began pushing us down with his belly one by one. All we could do was watch as he grabbed his big giant marshmallow bag, ran down the path, and hopped into his white van with the big giant marshmallows sitting on top of the roof. We of course ran home after this. I remember running home to my parents' house and frantically telling them what had happened, floods of tears streaming down my face. They were bemused at first, kind of thinking I was making up stories or something, putting it down to a typical child's imagination. I mean, what would you think if your child came home and started telling you your friend was just captured by a giant marshmallow? It's just not something you immediately take seriously. Eventually, they realized I was being honest, and they called the cops. The police took statements and things, and one of them spoke to my parents while the other seemed to be kind of trying to cheer me up by talking about football and things. We never saw Rich again after that day, and the Marshmallow Man was never caught, as far as I'm aware. I've asked my parents about it a couple of times over the years, and they never heard anything from the police. This all happened 25 years ago. I had basically put it out of my mind by now, and was at a point where I never really thought about it until yesterday. I had gotten up for work and did my usual routine of showering, breakfast, and picking up my mail. It was upon picking up my mail, though, that stopped me dead in my tracks. There was a bag of blue marshmallows. The brand? Rich's Marshmallows. The picture, that face, that exact same creepy smiley face of that Marshmallow Man, almost mocking me as it sits under the name of my kidnapped childhood friend. I don't know if this is some kind of sick joke by one of my old friends from that day, or if he has found me, tracked me down, and is coming for me. I've contacted them all through Facebook and only had a couple of replies so far, letting me know that they don't know what I'm talking about. I've been contemplating whether or not to go to the cops with this, but feel slightly embarrassed and unsure of what I could possibly say. It got me scared, though. Really scared. I almost feel 10 years old again. I'm telling you about this here because I'm hoping someone out there knows something. I'll keep everyone updated if anything else happens, but I really hope and pray that it doesn't. I never want to see that big puffy white smile in person again.